Founder Culture, the podcast for founders and startup leaders who understand that building a business may be hard, but building a team, now that's where things get tricky. I'm Romaine, right? Founder of Just Right Consulting LLC and creator of Thrive or Derive. In every episode, I take one real team issue, break down the behaviors driving it, and provide strategies on how to fix it. Welcome to the show. So today's episode is called I Expect My Team to Care as Much as I Do. Do you remember the Hair Club for Men commercials from the 80s and 90s? I remember them. And what I remember most is that every commercial ended with the president saying, "Remember, I'm not only the president, I'm also a client." If you can say that about your business, this episode is for you. This episode is for those of us who know what it feels like to be on the other side of our business. So you were once the consumer, the recipient, the overlooked client, the frustrated customer, the person who really just needed some help. And the memory of that experience is burned in your brain so much that you decided to start a business around it. You said, hey, you know what? I went through this and I'm going to create a solution to fix it. I want to create that ultimate product, that innovative technology, that high quality service that would have made all the difference for me when I needed help, right? So this is for you, if that resonates with you, because people like us are so passionate about our work that when we see people on our team just kind of going through the motions, it doesn't seem like a small thing. It seems really personal because it is for us, right? So I want to talk to those folks like me in this way. We want everyone around us to be as passionate about this work because we're passionate about this work. We know we're changing lives with our work. But see, here's the problem and the challenge that we're discussing in this episode. You may expect your team to care as much as you do, but they can't. Unfortunately, you can't replicate your passion and commitment for the cause and integrate it into them, embed it into them, transfer it to them, because they didn't go through what you went through. They didn't live your life. They didn't live your story. They don't share your experience, and they're not fueled by that same drive that you are. They may have had a similar experience or even witnessed you going through your experience, but they don't have that same passion and level of commitment as you do, because think about it, you cared so much you started a business to fix this. They didn't. And they may care, but they don't care the way that you do. Now, what's the behavior behind this? It's a psychological phenomena called projection. So this is real stuff. Projection is something we do subconsciously. It's when we place our own thoughts, feelings, behaviors, expectations onto other people. We expect them to show up the way that we would, to think the way that we do, to respond the way that we do, because how can they not? It's the only way to do it. But again, we feel that way. We have those thoughts. We have those feelings. We react that way to the situation only because we went through it too. And one of the greatest issues, challenges, hurdles with projection is that when you're doing it, you don't realize that you're doing it. Our passion for the work we think is great. It's driving us, and it is great until it's not, right? You may not realize you're projecting, but everyone around you knows that you're projecting. And if you've ever been around someone that does it, you know what I mean. You know it, they don't know it. They think what they're doing is helping, and it may actually be hindering. So here are some examples of what it looks like or could look like when you're projecting your own experience onto your team. Maybe you're snapping at them during meetings or when they ask questions because to you, it feels like they're being resistant. It feels like they're being difficult. when they could really just be seeking information and guidance. But because it's personal to you, you react in a way that maybe isn't the best and isn't the way that reflects your real leadership. It's a reaction to your passion, not to the question. Another sign you may be caught up in projection is if you're working late and you think to yourself, do they really care? Because they signed out at 5. Listen, if there's not an urgent reason for them to work late, they don't need to work late. Just because you are working late because you care so much about the work doesn't mean that you should expect everyone else to do that unless it's necessary. If it's necessary, sure. If it's not, when they sign out, they sign out. A final one I want to point out, a sign of projection, is when you feel let down when someone treats this as a job and not a calling. It's a calling to you, but it's a job to them. And that's okay. If you hired a bookkeeper to keep your books, as long as that's what they're doing, that's fine. You didn't hire them for their passion. You hired them to keep the books. Another big issue with projection is that when you are projecting, you're convinced that your folks don't care at all because they're not matching your passion, your commitment. And then you get frustrated because it feels like you can't find good help because you're looking for them to show up the way that you would, when actually that's not necessary. It's not that they lack passion, it's that you're struggling to disconnect your personal experience from your business. They are not the same. Your personal experience may be driving the reason why you start the business, the passion behind the business, but it's not your business. So the reset here is finding that balance. What's the balancing point between your personal life, your personal experience, and your business and your professional life? So let me give you some things that you can do if you realize that you're being caught up in projection that can help you reset. The first thing is measuring by results and not passion. Like I said, you hired a bookkeeper to keep the books. If they're doing their job, they're meeting your expectations for the job. They're meeting the standard for the job. They're hitting their deadlines and anything else that you've assigned, then they're performing. If they're not passionate, that doesn't mean they're not performing. That just means they're not matching your energy. That's not a reason to be upset. You hired them to do a job. So measure their performance by the results and outcomes, not by their passion. Something else you can do to reset is share your why without transferring your experience. What that means is I want you to tell them about why you started the business. They should know what your why is. They should hear and see your passion, and you should share it openly, but you're not trying to get them to replicate your experience, get them to show up the way that you do. You're just sharing your why. The next thing I want you to do, or you can do to reset, is in the moment of frustration, in the moment where you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, they just don't want to work. They don't care. I want you to ask yourself, am I really reacting to the current situation, to what's happening in the business? Or am I responding to my past experience? Am I kind of having flashbacks? Like when you said that, you reminded me about the situation I was in when I needed help and they didn't show up. You have to respond to the current situation and kind of put your past aside in the moment. The last thing you could do that I'm going to share is to let your team connect to the work through their own why and their own reasons for doing it. You shared yours with them. Now let them find their own. Let them find their own way to be connected to the results and the work that you're delivering. I know this particular one works very well because I've been doing it throughout my whole career. And I'll share one example. Early in my career, I worked for a mental health agency, and we worked with families and children, helping them manage behaviors, trying to keep them from getting kicked out of school because they've acted up in school. And one of my workers came to me and said, hey, this is not my life. This is not my career. This is not what I want to do forever. I am just trying to get through college and I need money. I am going to be a mortician. And so we sat down together and identified the skills that he was developing working with children and families for a mental health agency that would also help him be a better mortician later on in his career. And when he made that connection, that became his why, that it was going to help him in his career long term. And he became a top performer because I allow him to create his own why instead of trying to give him mine. All right. So I know this one may be stepping on your toes a little bit because we think my passion is why I do this. And that's great for you. Your team, again, can't experience what you experience to give them that same passion and motivation. So what's the takeaway here? I want you to know that leadership isn't about cloning yourself, cloning your fire, cloning your experience. It is about helping others find their own light, their own why, their own fire, and bringing everyone to the table so that you can shine brighter together, right? Let them find their own path. If this resonated with you, even if I made you mad and you've got something to say, if you're watching on YouTube, hop in the comments, let me know. Let's have a debate about it. It's okay. I love to hear your point of view. Check the show notes also for information on how you can connect with me. If you say, hey, Romaine, this is me, and I'm ready to break free from projection and make my passion an advantage and not a burden. Until next time, build trust and results will follow.